Watch brands often try to link their watches or their brand to a story or to a theme with mixed results. But there's one brand that I think does this extremely well, and that is Praesidus. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches, and I'm talking about this Praesidus. Or is it Praesidus or Praesidus? I say Praesidus, and I'm pretty sure that is incorrect because I have heard the brand owner actually say it, and when I heard him say it, I thought, oh, I've been saying this wrong, so I apologise, but Praesidus is now stuck in my head, and it is stuck in my head because I've owned a couple of watches from them before. So I'm going to keep calling them Praesidus, so apologies to the brand for doing so. Rather than try to keep changing it up, I'm just going to go with what I've been saying. But I know they're good because these other two watches have been something rather special. Special because they've been really nice watches, but also special because how they've linked it to military history. And other watch brands that have done this, I don't think have done it particularly well, or they've had sort of mixed results. But this brand does it very well. And if you want to know more about that, I really encourage you to have a look on their website and not only just look at their watches, but have a look at the stories that are attached to this. Have a look at the sort of theme of this brand and what they're trying to achieve. And I think you'll see that there is something rather special about this brand, which then made it very easy for me to say yes to the brand when they reached out to me saying, would I like to feature another of their watches? The A5 was provided to this channel, which I very quickly said yes to. But that is obviously why you would have seen that sponsored icon pop up. And of course, I'm going to leave links directly to their website. And I would encourage you to look at their website and read the story behind the brand. There's also some great stuff online, including a podcast that features the brand owner, which is worth listening to. I'm going to leave a link to that podcast below because he explains their brand and their ethos much better than I ever could. Now, I've been provided the A5 Abyss Blue, which is almost like a special version of this design because this is not a traditional dial for this style of watch, although the style of watch is a traditional style of watch. So it's a traditional, vintage, inspired military watch with a very cool, funky dial, and I appreciate that. And these watches, they go for $645 US. And for that money, you're getting a Swiss automatic Soprod P024 movement, double dome sapphire crystal, 200 meters of water resistance. And there is an option between a tropic strap and a beads of rice bracelet. And I would love to have the beads of rice bracelet, but it's currently sold out at the time of making this video. But let's first address this crown or this crown guard, because obviously it is a huge design element of this watch. I thought when I was looking at the photos of this watch that it might actually overwhelm the watch a bit. But when you actually put this watch on, it actually becomes a feature of the watch, a feature of the design of this watch, and by no means does it overwhelm it. But how exactly does it actually work? Well, it's fairly simple, really. It is more of a cover or a cap or a guard to the internal crown. You unscrew it, you let go, it's obviously attached to the case, and then you have this little mini crown, which you just utilize like any other crown. You wind it with this automatic movement. It has hand winding. You pop it out. It also has hacking, and it just pops back in again. You screw that guard on, and that gives you that water resistance. Now, before I tell you the dimensions of this watch, and just like the other watches from this brand, they do really nice dimensions. I just want to ask, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to my channel, would you just mind clicking on that subscribe button? I really would appreciate it if you did. But let's talk about the case. This is a nice 38mm case diameter. The height of the watch is 12.8mm. It has a nice compact 46mm lug to lug, standard 20mm lug width, and it weighs 91 grams. And when you put it on my 17cm wrist, you can see that it is a nice set of dimensions. And I think it's when you see it on wrist, you then see the design element of that crown guard becomes part of the watch rather than something that is sticking out of the watch. But I have to admit, although I thought that crown guard was very interesting and different and would be interesting to get hands-on with, it is the design of the dial that really captures my attention. And I've said a few times in the past about these molded textured dials. Sometimes they can feel a little bit cheap, but not this one. This one is one of the good ones. One of the ones which really not only grabs your attention, but it makes it look absolutely amazing. And then they've integrated this textured dial with this lovely color scheme. This light blue that fades out to black, and then they've applied all the markers and the logo as part of that molding. So they stick up out of that dial, but they're part of that dial, and then they've applied lume. And there's plenty of lume on this watch, and I rather expected that, being this company. They do like to use the lume, and it is very nice when you do turn the lights out. And then when you concentrate on those hands, well, there's something rather interesting going on, because the hour, the minute, and that second hand have an almost sparkly effect to them. It's almost like a bead blasted type effect, and it helps grab the light when it is out in the sun. But then you see at the base of it, and including the counterbalance on the second hand, is black. And being have that central black feature, it almost blends into the dial, giving you those sort of impression that the hands are floating above it. But for me, what stands out about those hands is the effect that has been used. You've got this deep blue textured dial behind, and these hands that then jump out at you. Now they list on the website that this is a double domed sapphire crystal, and if it is double domed, it is a very mild double dome because it feels almost flat to me. But it is a really nice crystal that disappears in most lights, allowing you to see all that depth and color and texture. Now the case, as I would expect with a design like this, is all brushed. But you've got different directions of brushing, giving a little bit of interest factor too. There's also drill lugs as well, and it does feel like a tool dive watch, but of course with all those interesting design features, which makes it something rather special. And not only is there a spec sheet on the back of this watch, but there's a bit of information that gives you an idea about the brand, as well as where this design of watch comes from, because you'll see that central sort of logo, or the little picture there. It says underwater demolition. I'm assuming that is the design language of this watch, what it was initially made for. And they are telling you that these watches are assembled in the USA. And I know there is something about this and why they want you to know this, because they are not USA made watches, but the differences between being able to write USA made and say Swiss made is very different. To actually put on a dial of a watch USA made, every single element of that watch must be made in the US. Of course, this one can't be because it's using a Swiss movement. So even if they were trying to make it completely USA made, it is very difficult to do. Hence why they say assembled in the USA. Some of the parts they have had made, some of them they've bought in, but it is being put together with care by the brand itself. Now these Tropic straps, I will admit I have a bit of a bias against them, just purely because they're not the style of strap that I'm drawn towards. But what I can say about this one, it is well made. I love the color, certainly fits in with that dial perfectly and is very comfortable. It's only my personality that I don't tend to connect with Tropic style straps, so I'll end up wearing this one on other straps. Not because of the quality, just because of my own personal taste. But I'll definitely like to reuse the hardware, because not only is that a really well made, but it's also sort of signed with the brand logo and has a really nice mixture of surfaces too. So since this is not going to be my last watch from Praesidus, I already know this because of the ones that I've experienced and the ones that I've loved so far, it probably means I should learn how to say this brand name better. So sorry Praesidus, I'll work on that. And as I work on that, maybe you guys would like to watch another one of my videos.